Hello BookTube. For this Tag Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the Book Snob tag. This tag is created by Tia and All the Books, and I saw it just recently on another bibliophile reads, and I'll have links to both videos in the show notes down below. Prompt number 1, Adaptation Snob. Do you always read the book before you see the movie? In my case, no. I can only think of one instance where I read the book before I saw the film adaptation, and that is The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje. I read the book, I want to say, when I was probably around 17. And I'm pretty sure I didn't watch the film adaptation until the next year, because the only reason why I wanted to watch the film adaptation was because I had read the book. But for the most part, as far as I can remember, I've always seen the film adaptation or television adaptation before I've actually gotten into the books themselves. That's the case with Conan by Robert E. Howard, which actually took significantly longer time because I didn't actually read the Robert E. Howard original Conan stories until years after I'd read a number of the pastiches. Sherlock Holmes, I was introduced through the Jeremy Brett series. Agatha Christie's works, I was introduced by via the David Suchet-led Poirot adaptation and the Joan Hickson-led Miss Marple adaptation. I saw the Bond films years before I started to read the Ian Fleming books. So I think it might only be The English Patient. Raise the Red Lantern, I read the film, watched the film adaptation before I read the book by Su Tong. So yeah, I think it might only be The English Patient. So anyway, take that for what you will. Prompt number 2, Format Snob. You can choose only one format in which to read books for the rest of your life. Which one do you choose? Physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks? By a wide margin, physical books. I love physical books. I'm not that fond of ebooks. I will read ebooks in a pinch, but it is not my preferred method of reading, and audiobooks are the absolute worst way for me to read or listen to a book, because I'm not going to really be listening. I'm going to be doing something else while the audio is running, and that's not reading or listening. That's just background noise. So it's physical books all the way. Prompt number 3, Ship Snob. Would you date or marry a non-reader? I would say yes. I mean, it would give me and my boyfriend or husband something to do apart. That I can have my hobbies, he can have his hobbies, and we're not always together or like doing the same things together. We have our own separate spaces, which to a certain extent I think I would need. So yeah, I think I would. Prompt number 4, Genre Snob. You have to ditch one genre, never to be read again for the rest of your life. Which one do you ditch? The obvious answer, the absolute obvious answer for me for this prompt is perhaps the most snobbish genre of all fiction, and that is literary fiction. I have a toxic reading relationship with literary fiction. I want to love it. I want to engage with it. And I don't. I if you've been following along with my channel for the last 2.5 years, you will know I do not get on with literary fiction. Now, there are times when it works, say Girl, Woman, Other, or by Bernardina Versto, or Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor this year. Two works of literary fiction that I really enjoyed. But for the most part, I usually bail on literary fiction within a few pages. It's just not for me. But I keep coming back to it. I guess maybe because I have the hope that it will work for me. And sometimes it does, but for the most part, I'm basically taking Sean the Book Maniac's title of The Empress of Bailing, and I'm becoming the Emperor of Bailing, or the God of Bailing. Since my bailing, particularly this year, has been just atrocious. But anyway, so it should by rights be literary fiction for my mental health. But a good case could also be made for mysteries. When I was a preteen, like 11 to about 14-ish, I was a huge fan of mysteries. I mean, starting with Sherlock Holmes, and then moving on to the works of Agatha Christie, and then a few others like Earl Stanley Gardner, Patricia Cornwell, P.D. James, whoever wrote the Inspector Colin Dexter, I think. Minette Walters, maybe a few others here and there that I'm forgetting. But in the last few years, it's just all Agatha Christie all the time when it comes to mysteries reading. I have very little interest, well, really no interest at all, in wanting to read mysteries outside of Agatha Christie. So I could also make a good case that mystery should be the genre that I never read again. But again, for my mental health, it really should be literary fiction. So let's go with literary fiction. Okay, moving on to prompt number 5. Okay, let's see if this works. I'm trying a new format in my videos. So I'll explain that after I finish this tag. Prompt number 5, Uber Genre Snob. You can only choose to read from one genre for the rest of your life. Which genre do you choose? I think I'm going to go with history for this one. It's relatively recent that I have developed as big a love of history as I have, and my history collection, which is behind me, has exploded in those 2 years. It used to be all of my nonfiction would have been on, I think, this bookcase right here, this little one that's on top of this one. But now it's basically these 2 shelves and almost all of this shelf behind me. It'll soon probably start to get on the bookshelf that's immediately behind me that you can't see. And I am having a ball with history. I love it. And there's so much diversity in history. So I think it would be a really good, like if I had to only choose one genre to read for the rest of my life, it would be history. Prompt number 6, Community Snob. Which genre do you think receives the most snobbery from the bookish community? Without question, that would be romances. Romance has always been one of the most looked down upon genres in the sort of the genre pecking order, with literary fiction kind of being at the top, and then everything else going down. But and I'm not entirely sure what the exact sort of, outside of literary fiction, what's the pecking order for the rest of so-called genre fiction. But I'm pretty sure romance is at the very bottom, or near enough to the bottom. And it's not really benefiting from critical reassessments that a lot of these genres have gotten of the past few years. Like, for example, science fiction and fantasy, I would think has probably risen to where it's maybe at the top of the genre fiction sort of pecking order, because, I mean, there is some obviously critical value with it, the literature of ideas, and so on and so forth. But out of all of, I think, the genres, I'm pretty sure it's probably romance is at the bottom. And finally, prompt number 7. Snobbery Recipient. Have you ever been snubbed for something that you have been reading, or for reading in general? Yes, I was never exactly a popular student or classmate when I was in school, and that's largely stayed true, largely because I am and have always been incredibly bookish and book-oriented, and some of my reading tastes are rather far outside of the mainstream, particularly during my Poison Ivy phase, which less said about the better. So that was the Book Snob tag. If you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. This is a relatively old one, and so this is a bit of tag necromancy, which is awesome. I love tag necromancy. Really should try to do that more often myself. But anyway, moving on to the kind of video filming. So for the longest time, since I got my new computer, which is what I used to film on, I would use my tablet, which is what I used to film on, to read off the questions. Like, I would pull up the video, the tag video that I'm using. Usually it's the one that I'm getting it from, and then do that. But last week I decided to change it up, even though you did not see that particular tag video because it didn't quite work out. I'll try to do another version this coming week, sometime if I have time for it. So what I decided to do was, well, I could just have the questions from the video I'm using as a reference up on screen alongside the camera, and it could work. And so that's what I'm doing for this video. So let me know if it works. And I'll continue to do this with future tag videos or anything else that I'm kind of working on. Anyway, so I know I mentioned Friday that I wanted to do a discussion video on Monday, and that didn't quite work out. And my discussion videos very rarely actually work out. I still want to talk about it, but I'm not entirely sure what angle really works best for the video to work. Tomorrow I won't have any videos up because I've got to go watch the 4 Children of the Apocalypse, my 2 nieces and 2 nephews, while my brother and sister-in-law take the new baby to her 2-week, 3-week checkup, and then my sister-in-law also has a doctor's appointment that day. So no videos on Wednesday. Thursday I will try to do another tag video, maybe one on Friday too, and then of course there will be weekly reads this coming Friday. So anyway, BookTube, I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to go ahead and end things for now. So thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.